This is the reality of some people who are wanting to leave by any means to find a better life elsewhere.
Last night we heard voices crying and asking for help. It was impossible for them to move, so the people here, they just dropped them ropes in order to help them to climb up the hill.
In Nigeria, we call it Japa.
Crossing the Sahara in search of a better life. These migrants are bound for Europe. And this is where the long road begins, in the desert of Niger, several days' drive from the Libyan border. They've come from all over West and Central Africa. Off they go in the dead of night, adrift in an ocean of sand, clinging to their dreams. Some of them may not survive the extreme heat when the sun comes up. Others may be left behind by their smugglers, but there will be no rescue mission. A rare stop on this perilous journey. Most of the migrants here have left countries with few jobs and limited prospects. This is their alternative. Young men, but also teenage girls and children. Samuel has fled from Boko Haram Islamist militants.
No problem, I have to take the risk. You know, when you want to achieve something, you have to risk. Yes, that's why I prefer to go to Europe.
Even to risk your life?
It's God who has the last word. I must make it for my family.
Migration is big business in the Sahara. There will be officials and soldiers to bribe. There will be militia to pay. For the smugglers, nothing's more lucrative. We charge different prices depending on where they come from, he says. But on average, the ride to the Libyan border costs them about £150. We've only been here for a couple of hours and we've seen dozens of these pickup trucks, hundreds of migrants, and there will be hundreds more tonight. Now, borders are being tightened in Europe, but how do you stop this? Just a few miles down the road, more migrants are preparing to set off. But they will not all make it. These migrants have turned around, defeated and destitute. They were starved or beaten during their journey. All are going home. They have failed. 28-year-old James Gay from Liberia wanted to study computing in Italy. He took great risks to reach the Libyan coast. But the state of the boats used to cross the Mediterranean terrified him.
Afraid, very much afraid to get on the boat because people tell you this is good, the boat is good. You go there, you made it Europe within 3 hours time. They are all liars. The chance to succeed is 20%. The chance to be killed is 80%, and the chance to turn around is 100%.
But for each migrant giving up on Europe and returning home, another pickup truck loaded with dozens more is already speeding through the desert. And the exodus continues. Thomas Fessi, BBC News.
Though as you can see from the video, the person you see right now is not Nigerian, probably someone from another country planning to migrate. Migration is something very common globally. Hence, it's important to note that 200 million Nigerians will not get to travel out of Nigeria. That is why some of us talk about what is going on in the country. So check this for yourself. Do you really love this country? If we get it wrong again in 2023, that's another 8 years of complaint.
I assure you, I will secure the country.
If they say they want a change of government, just tell them, we like to be polite, but shut up your mouth.
Nigeria is selling oil. Where is the money? At a time as this, when all countries are making profit because of the war going on, what is Nigeria doing? We are trying to sell our properties to fund the budget, when our government refused to cut their own cost of living expenses. Now take a close look at this. President Muhammadu Buhari recently laid a 2023 budget before the National Assembly. The budget, put at 20.5 trillion, has since passed second reading in the National Assembly. According to him, 8.2 trillion earmarked for recurrent expenditure in the proposed 20.51 trillion 2023 budget constituted 43% of the entire budget profile. Think about that for a moment. He also dished out figures showing that since 2018, Nigeria's recurrent expenditure has been constantly rising. About 14 billion has been allocated for internet subscriptions, telephone charges, stationery, computers, books, newspapers, and personal costs for the presidency. Note, for the presidency. In a country that should be cutting costs, right? About 11.92 billion was earmarked for food items and foreign trips for the president and his vice, as well as refreshment, kitchen accessories, and related items. Today we are still talking about the flood victims.
The menace of flooding in many parts of our country has been particularly worrisome. It has devastated homes and disrupted families, lives, and livelihoods. We need to take proactive measures to tackle this and especially manage our dams and other water bodies to curtail the menace of flooding now becoming a national disaster. Our focus and targets should be on how to prevent these annual floods from occurring in the scale that we experience annually. This year, the floods have not only devastated families, but also destroyed our infrastructure, roads particularly. Mr. President, as you may be aware, work on the renovation of the National Assembly has begun in earnest. This is why we are in this temporary facility. Government should ensure timely completion of the renovation of the National Assembly complex because of the significance of this arm of government to good governance and the sustenance of our democracy.
It is regrettable that those who seek to draw up Nigeria's annual budget do not seem to take into consideration the fact that Nigeria is now among the poorest countries on earth.
So what do we need to do to exit this recession? You'll recall in 2017, a major factor was a boost in oil prices. That is looking somewhat unlikely since, the COVID-19 pandemic has ravaged the oil sector. What do we need to do to exit this time around?
Actually, in 2019, our exit was based more on reckless borrowing. Because I remember arguing with the minister then, he said he would borrow and spend his way out of. I said, no, you can't do that because you're borrowing and throwing it at consumption. Now we are now faced with where we cannot borrow as we did then. So what we need to do now is reining on physical discipline. It is critical because today we still have huge cost of governance. We have to rein in on physical discipline. We have to ensure, the physical side have to ensure that their policies, their measures and everything get to where it is directed. So if you say you're spending this to support the SMEs, it must get there. Right now, it's not getting there. You only just hear that this number of resources have been provided for SMEs, this has been provided. But when you go down, even if you go to your village, to your local government, you see that people are not getting it. And I said the quantum again is not enough. If you compare our country and like countries, you will see that we're not providing enough to be able, enough stimulus to be able to take our people out of the recession